Please help me welcome Donna Newman.
Thank you, Chris. Have you ever wanted something so much like becoming a great NSA speaker? A speaker that not only is aspiring to become a master speaker, but an inspirational speaker. Speakers like Naomi Rhodey, like Neil Dempster, who was up here on the platform earlier, or Don Thorne, or Patricia Fripp, maybe Glenna Salzberg, Lou Heckler, people who have really commanded the platform and inspired their audience to become something they always thought they could, but never had the courage to become. Well, if that's the case, then you'll probably be inspired by this story. Imagine that there are 32 seconds left on the clock. 32 seconds left on the clock, and you are attending a girls' basketball game. It's a championship game, so everything is on the line. But your team, Harry, your team is down by 9 points. You're losing, and there's 32 seconds to spare. And all you can hear from the other team, these parents, they're just talking about where they're going to head off for the celebration. But there's something about you that just stands to be a little peaceful, because obviously they have forgotten what you've remembered. And that is the majority of games are won in the final 30 seconds. And obviously they don't know what you know, which is that the basketball coach of your team is a former WNBA superstar. And she has been under plenty of high-pressured stakes, where there's been 32 seconds on the clock, and she had to come through with her team. So there's no doubt in my mind that she's going to be able to give the plan to the 5 players on the court for them to execute, probably tie the game, and maybe even win the game. Well, 32 seconds left on that clock. Teams are coming out of a timeout. And it just so happens that we've got the inbound pass. The pass comes in, the ball's activated, our team actually rushes to the outside of the three-point line, and within 26 seconds, we have tied the game with 3 three-point swishes. Unbelievable, remarkable. But we had a plan. And now both teams take a timeout, and there's 6 seconds left. And you can imagine the rush and the roar and the change of the dynamics of the crowd, because we are tied and they are nervous. And it just so happens the majority of the people in the crowd, they're not parents. They're actually college basketball coaches looking to give high school girls a full ride scholarship if they would come and play at their school. And it seems like they have found 8 of the best that they can rely on to do just that. So 6 points left, or 6 seconds left rather, and both teams come out of a timeout. We have the inbound pass again, lucky for us. And sure enough, as the ball goes active, we immediately make 2 passes. The ball gets lifted, the buzzer rings, the ball bounces off the back of the glass and swishes through the basket. We have won the game! We won. We were down by 9 points, and we came back to win the game by 2. But what really happened here is you had a group of young people who knew in their belly that they were capable of being winners. But with that plan, when they enacted that plan, they exemplified that excellence. And they became the plan, and they won the game. And the same is true for all of you. You have a yearning inside of you as a candidate speaker to become more, and you know what that more is because you've been around it, especially being in this room today where you've witnessed master speakers and being able to rub elbows with the finest. But when you have a plan as a candidate and you enact that, there is a guarantee that you're going to become a winner. But it's just a matter of having that plan. So it's my privilege today to be able to unveil that plan that the candidate program offers for you. And there's 7 points that I've been a part of. And then there's 3 points that I haven't participated in, but they are absolutely worth you checking out. So let's get started. The number 1 skill that you want to take advantage of is participating in the TED-style meetings. And that's exactly what you did this morning. You come in once a month on the second Saturday, and you've got an opportunity to experience the National Speakers Association. You have a chance to be able to rub elbows with people who have mastered every bit of where you want to head off to. They've had to overcome, just like Neil Dempster said this morning, he's had to overcome challenges of getting booked, challenges of how do you stay on top of your organization, how do you continue to get referrals, how do you deal with technology problems. And he said once you have a chance to be able to put a few tools in a lunchbox, you always can rely upon what you've learned. And you gain that insight when you come to a TED-style meeting. So here, when you have a chance to walk in, you're going to find that these are prized speakers. And you have people who are looking out for you, rooting for you, celebrating you, and they want to see you succeed. And I'll always remember one of my first time experiences of walking into one of these meetings. It was Patricia Fripp who was speaking. And if you've never had the privilege to be in the same room as Patricia, you will know the moment you have a chance to meet her that it is like you feel like you have to throw her a salute, because this woman is so poised and she's commanding and she knows how to ask a lot of the platform and to deliver excellence to the audience. She has a way of breaking through what the theater majors call the fourth wall, and she includes you, and you learn so much from her as a speaker, as a candidate. One of the things I learned so valuable from her, and the one time that she came, we had a packed house. We had standing room only, and then we were moving into the back room with chairs. She had said, Donna, I truly felt like she was talking to me. It is not your client's job to remember you. It is your responsibility to become remarkable and worth repeating. That literally hit me between the eyes. Because, there's something about you that you want other people to own the responsibility to talk about you and to remember you. But she said, you got to start by having a phrase that pays. And when you understand that everything you do needs to be a phrase that pays, then that's easily remembered. And that's easily repeated. And when it's remembered and repeated, boy, you've got a marketing machine out there of people who are talking about you. And then it comes all back to you because they remember who gave them the phrase that pays. And I remember her giving the storyline when she had said 2.5 Men was her favorite TV show. And she said that this happens in real life, where the title of each episode of the 2.5 Men is actually repeated in the dialogue, so that you hear it continuously, and after the show, you are repeating the exact title, which then gives you excitement about watching the show again and helps other people get enthusiastic about watching the show in the first place. So having a phrase that pays puts you in a position to be a remarkable, memorable speaker. And you gain that by coming to those monthly TED meetings. The second one is going to be looking at the NSA-AZ online directory. And that is one of the best platforms for you get found. Remember this morning I was talking about how so much of us getting found as speakers is really our online presence. And when we've got an online presence, when people are putting keywords into the search engines, our website will come up and we will be found. Well, it just so happens a really cool feature of NSA is that they enable you to tether yourself on a landing page on the website of NSA, of the main NSA-Arizona website. And that is a cool benefit. Because when people are looking for speakers, they normally go to the NSA-Arizona. They put in the keywords for the industry that they're looking for to speak at their meeting. And if you've listed in that, your content will pull up as one of the search results. Within the first month of my signing on as a candidate about 3 years ago, that happened to me. A women's group called me and said, we've had someone fall through. Probably only pay you $1,000. Would you be interested? But we need you in 1 month. Well, for me, that was a cinch because I was new to speaking and I would have done it a 24-hour notice, and I almost would have done it for free, just for the experience. But $1,000 and I had a month's worth of notice, I thought this was the coolest thing ever. And I didn't even market myself. I was in a portal where people were already going to look for me. So take advantage of that. It happened to me a second time when I had tweaked up some of my keywords, because now I was asking everybody, well, how did you find me? And they would give me the exact keywords that they had put into Google to make me rise up into the search engine. And a gentleman had called me from a financial organization in the Biltmore Fashion Park, and he said, well, I actually found you because I just put social media speaker in there, and up comes your NSA landing page. It's still part of the main website, but my page had its own URL as a member. And now I was being pulled up in a search engine. It wasn't even my own website that was pulling me up. It was the NSA online directory. So hugely recommend you taking advantage of that. That will give you a lot of exposure. And then number 3, we're looking at one of my favorites is, if you're going to become great, you got to surround yourself with great people. And one of the best ways to do that is to tap into what Richard has created for us with the access of the large media library. The media library is really comprised of CDs of speakers who have presented at national meetings or at the fall meetings. And when you have a chance to listen to how eloquent, articulate, inspirational these presenters are, you get inspired to become great. And that greatness that you were feeling at the beginning inside of you is just beginning to blossom, and you're feeling that if you were just given a little bit of opportunity for some insight and how to activate that, you would become a better speaker. Well, one of the CDs that I checked out within 6 months of being a candidate from Richard was Glenna Salzberg, and it was her 2011 National Convention keynote. If you've never heard of Glenna Salzberg, she is poised and commanding and inspirational, and she's memorable. So one of the things that she had said in there to make yourself memorable and to give the audience a good understanding of what it takes to remember your points easily, do a structure. And she said that's called PSA. Well, from all my marketing background, I thought maybe she meant public service announcement. But it was actually, you do a point, you have a story, and then you have an application. Every time you're speaking. And you can have this structure 3 times, 5 times, 7 times inside of your speech. So, a point. This is what Patricia Fripp referred to, remember, as the phrase that pays. Have that sticking point. And then, of course, you need to step back and give a story that really showcases or gives the audience an opportunity to see that point in action. And then it doesn't quite make sense for them to understand the point or to hear your story because they're all about what's in it for me. So that's where you connect the dots from the point to the story with the application. And you tell them exactly how they're going to benefit by understanding the strength of your point and taking action on it. So every time you have a point, a story, and an application, you will successfully, whether it is for moms, whether it is for a large audience, big audience, whether it's for corporations, people will understand where you're headed based upon the content of the story, and they will relate to it because you've personalized what they're going to get out of it. Then we're looking at the 4th tool over here, and that is reading Speaker magazine. When I was about 1.5 years into being a candidate, I don't know about you guys if you're going to feel this, but I got to a point where I was getting a little bit overwhelmed because I came in here and I thought, man, everybody's maxed out with presentations. They know exactly where they're going. They're super successful. How do I get to be like them? How do I get to look like them? How do I become like the master speaker that I so badly want to become? Well, what I realized was in order to be that game changer that you so badly want to be, you have to realize you can't do it alone. And you shouldn't have to do it alone. And one of the best ways for you is to tap into what's called the Speaker Magazine. And this Speaker Magazine, this is a subscription, and I'm not sure entirely what the price point is, but there is one for the aspiring speaker. And once you get your hand on this, you will read it cover to cover, just like I did. It was about that 9th month into being a candidate, and everybody had pretty much cleared the room after one of those TED-style monthly meetings. And Les Taylor had left it at his tabletop. And I said, Les, do you mind if I look at that? He said, oh, you can have it. I already looked at all. Well, he had not made any dog ears on the corners. He never made any margin notes. He had nothing highlighted. So I thought, ooh, I get to do that. So I literally took it home and I read it cover to cover. And what I realized was there is so much I didn't know about being a great speaker. But even in that, it is so overwhelming to become a great speaker. You have to understand the fundamentals of creating your platform. How do you market yourself? How do you get found? How do you create the content that's original for your platform so that you're not duplicating everybody else? How do you repurpose yourself? How do you network? How do you tap into other brain trust so that you could say, hey, this is my idea, can you give me some feedback? How do you have the confidence to do that? This is something that you must pick up. And the aspiring speaker is actually outside there in the hallway, so I would strongly encourage you to get yourself one. But more importantly, I'd even say get yourself a subscription, because you'll find that people from different backgrounds, from different experiences, some that are new to speaking, but they've had a very, very good career, or some people who are seasoned pros will share their insights from technology, from starting a business, from managing a business, from getting humor into your content. This is how you become a game changer. The next one is Yahoo Groups. And when you have a chance to join a Yahoo group, you're going to be introduced to Beth Terry and Bonnie Maddock. And those are two women that I think they know just about everything. If I've ever had a question, and I would think to myself now, those speakers up top here, they said a lot of acronyms, and they said things that happened 20 years ago in the speaking industry, and they rattled off last names of speakers, and it was up and over my head. I had no clue what they were referencing, but I knew it was important. So I would go into the Yahoo groups. You want to make sure that you're added, and I would ask a question. Now everybody would get notification of that question, but it would be Bonnie Maddock that would always come back, or it would be our precious other friend who would come back and say, I know exactly what you're talking about. Here it is. And here's an example. And here's the website. And by the way, here's the phone number. And this is what worked for me. And she is so excellent at that. So I would really ask you to just tap into that, because that saves you a lot of time. When you're new and you're kind of bobbling around, what do you do that's really going to maximize your learning curve and taking advantage of how do you become a better speaker? It's just fundamental sometimes you have questions about, but you just don't know who to ask. Go inside those Yahoo chats. And another thing about that is that Bonnie, at the end of every meeting, every chapter meeting, she does a recap. So while you might take copious notes, there might be a chance that you would have forgotten something. So Bonnie actually organizes all the notes, 2-3 pages deep, and she bullets them. So they're great talking points. Everything that she learned, you then cross-reference with what you learned, and oftentimes there's a lot of good overlap, but she has it clear, and you can actually read it because she prints it out. And so often when you're chicken scratching and you're racing and you can hardly keep up with the speaker, you go back and there's not much there for you. So Bonnie's notes make a big difference, and she usually sends them the week after that Saturday. And then LinkedIn groups. There's a little biblical verse that says, if you give one thing out, it comes back to you tenfold. And NSA was founded upon that value system. Cavett Robert had said that the best day on earth that you can create like heaven on earth is when you give of yourself generously and you see that giving multiply in somebody else's life. And it's that generous spirit that the moment you walk into these hallowed halls, you are going to feel there's no place like NSA. No place. There's no other organization that functions like NSA. There's no other organization that you'll ever be in that functions like NSA. There's just this even keel exchange of ideas, of influence, of what ifs, of possibilities, or I tried this, that didn't work, you might want to try this. Or you could say, hey, I just want to try out an introduction. Can you listen and give me your feedback? People are so willing to give you that free flow of exchange. They want to see you succeed. And it's because it's predicated upon Cavett Robert's spirit. He wanted to create an organization that was just that easy, free-flowing exchange of, I'm an expert, so I want to give back. And you'll see that across every platform that the National Speakers Association does. And the interesting thing is, so he created that years ago, and he didn't know anything about the internet. Well, it happens so easily offline, but it happens online too. And being that my background is social media marketing, of course, I logged into the LinkedIn groups, and I clicked that I wanted to participate and join a LinkedIn NSA group. So one of the times, you can actually ask a lot of questions, and I didn't expect to really gain too much by being a member. I didn't have any expectations. But what I found is, at least once or twice a week, there was always a question for discussion asked. And usually I had a good input, because oftentimes people were talking about their platform expertise, and I could add value with marketing. So I would give them insights or good tips that if they acted on them, they would have success in further branding their company. It just so happened that I had a question one time, posed a discussion, and I said, you know what? I am just not going to make that national convention. Is there anybody who might have some notes, or if you have some notes, would you be willing to share them with me? This was before I even knew that I could tap into the media library. Well, the president of the Asian National Speakers Association in Singapore said, you bet, Donna, I would be glad to do that. And this is what she sent me: a 22-page document, fully loaded, with cover images, with photos from the event, and all bulleted. Isn't that amazing? That is, I've just been super impressed. So I didn't miss the convention. I vicariously experienced that convention. So the beauty is that Cavett spirit operates so nicely offline, and you'll find that happens, that free exchange happens within LinkedIn groups. Another time, when I first joined this, I didn't know what a one-pager meant. You know, you had to have a one sheet of yourself with your picture, the value system that you were going to offer if someone were to hire you, and kind of the benefits that they were going to get. So I knew some of the stuff that needed to be on it. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know how to put it together. So I asked the LinkedIn groups if anybody would have a sample, if they would mind sharing. Within 30 minutes, 5 people had said, you bet, here's a PDF. And that, for me, put me on a platform where I could actually look at what does the one sheet look like, how do you have to look, what do you have to say, what pictures do you have to have in there, what bullets are relevant, because they're successful and they get hired. And I wanted to be successful, and I wanted to be hired. So by following their template, their model, it enabled me to not have a learning curve. But the thing about that is, whenever you're in that LinkedIn group, I treated them like they were my clients. If they had a question and I knew I had an answer, I immediately responded. So whenever you give, you're going to get that tenfold back, and nobody's going to hesitate to share with you as well. And then finally, the 7th activity that I've participated in is Speakers Lab. Oh, this really is the heart and soul of becoming a great speaker. Because otherwise it's just all in here or it's all up there. But when you come to Speaker Lab, you put your white coat on, you got your flask, you're going to do a little experimenting, you're going to try out new material, you're going to maybe do a new opening, maybe try a new transition, maybe you're going to demonstrate a new story, maybe you're going to show handouts that you're doing for a brand new speech. Whatever it is, the beautiful thing is you do it before an audience that's live, and it's a practice audience. But I promise you, they are tougher on you than your real audience is going to be. And if you can do a good job there, man, you're going to knock it out of the park when it comes to your real audience. So twice a month, you come in, and it's every Tuesday, 9:30 to 11:45. Come in, be part of our group, vicariously experience the learning, watch people come up on stage, demonstrate some stories they want to test out, and you get a chance to be the audience. You are personified as somebody within the industry that they're speaking to, but then you also get to use the feedback of, this is how it made me feel, these are the ideas I think you could use to improve upon. And then the good thing is that the audience isn't just made up of candidates, but it's also made up of master speakers who have been pretty seasoned, and they have very good ideas about what works on the platform. Finally, you've got what's called a guest enricher. And a guest enricher really sets the tone for the entire speaker lab. Because a guest enricher comes alongside of you and literally says, Donna, take your shoes off. They put your shoes on literally, and they say, okay, so I got your lines. I'm going to deliver your lines the way I think you should better deliver those lines. And of course, they deliver them to the word that I said, and they get a raving response from the audience. And then Glennis Salzberg might say, okay, so put your shoes back on. So what'd you think? Did you like that? Was that a good idea? That was a great idea. That's a great idea. So when you're up at Speaker Lab, you've got a guest enricher who's a master presenter, and they come up as if you are a presenter, and they give you customized content, customized feedback to what you just did. They give you ideas about how you can better present it, exact words that you could say, maybe a better model that you should do, maybe an entirely different twist. But it's a great way to really practice on becoming that great speaker. And sometimes it's a little scary. I remember my very first time speaking. Originally it was in this room, and so we might have had like 15 or 20 people. But the time that I debuted, we were in the other room, and there were almost 50 people. And there were 5 of us, and I spoke right after Harry Huffman. And right after Harry, the guest enricher comes up and does a little enrichment exercise. And it happens to be Summers White. And Summers White says, there are 6 parts to the stage. Well, before that, as I was coming up, I thought, well, I didn't know that. I thought she'd just stay in the middle. I was always glued to the middle. And he says, there's 6 parts to a stage. And like Harry Huffman over here would dance around the stage, I didn't understand how he did that so well, and I didn't understand that there was a science behind it. But Summers White said, the middle is your most powerful position. The stage right is where you're going to whisper a story or share a good insight with someone. And then the far left is where you're going to station yourself and deliver your humor and get people to laugh. The back 2 outside flanks are dead spaces. And when you're in the middle at the front and you're walking your way backwards to that middle square, that's where you're causing people to go back in time with you. Historical element, or an imagine, or a what if. Wow, I had never known that. And I never would have known that. I would have never known to search for that. I would have never known to perform like that. I didn't know that master speakers did things like that. I didn't know there was a science like that. But after he showed me that, I tried to model it a little bit in my presentation. I was a quick study. And then he also gave me the permission to come out and walk in the audience. I had no confidence to do that. But after he said that that's just what you do if you want to be a master speaker, it made good sense. So those are some of the tangible tools that you gain from Speakers Lab. And as you heard this morning, the granddaddy of the Speaker Lab is Don Thorin. And he is a master communicator. He has really launched the spirit of the Speaker Lab into the inner workings of it, so much that when people come, they know that they're going to be critiqued, but they are going to be critiqued in the best of environment, and they're going to be given good insight and good wisdom. So it's the best way for you to speak more and to speak better. And then there's 3 things that I wanted to mention to you that I've not done. The first one is the National Speakers Association Convention. And for me, that happens every late July. And every late July, I am on the best platform I could ever be on. And that is my 3 daughters are basketball stars. So we travel the country, and we are going to all of these different gyms with our club team, recruiting all these coaches to look at us because they want to play in college. They want to play college ball. And so we're looking to have them be recruited for a full scholarship. So I always miss the convention. And that's why it's so valuable for me to participate in LinkedIn groups, because I get the convention recap, or to participate in the media library that Rich runs, because I get the CDs to listen to within a few months of convention, and it's as though I never missed it. So when Lou Heckler said, he's a very famous speaker, when he said the very first time that he went to convention, that evening, he went back to his room and he cried. He couldn't believe it. He said, this is the most amazing group of people that I have ever met, where you are exchanging ideas and you're encouraging each other, and everybody's at the top of their game, but they're transparent and they're real and they're tangible and they're touchable. It's the Cavett spirit. It's amazing to me that Mr. Cavett Roberts had created this so long ago, and look at how it's expounded itself, and it's so ever present in everything that we do. National Convention is definitely something you want to check out, and I believe as the candidate you actually get to have a discount. Then the second thing that you want to take advantage of is what's called SpeakerNet News, and this is an online newsletter. It's free, and the editor puts in little quips about how to become a better speaker. Quips like what Neil Dempster talked about on the panel today, how to package your lunchbox with all your technology and take it with you. What's the best social media approach to marketing an event? You are going to get some really good vignettes about how to promote your business, how to generate new ideas, how to create openings, and how to market. And it's a quick read, a couple of pages deep. Then the final thing, the 10th thing, is living room forums. And if you don't have a chance to come to the Saturday, or if you do have a chance, but you really want that Saturday experience, but a little bit more informal and a little bit more of a 15 or 20 people, then you'd want to go to the living room forums. So the caliber of people up here on the stage during the Saturday presentations is every bit what you can expect at the living room forums. And this is in the evening. It's hosted by a couple of our members. It's in their home. And it gives you an opportunity to have a lot of camaraderie with people, because the same folks tend to go each time. So you're holding each other accountable. You're actually enjoying that more intimate setting. And it's a great place for you to feel confident to ask questions that you might not ask in a larger group. So if you put together these 10 action items, you're really going to put yourself in a position to have a plan. When I first started as a candidate, all of these were existing, but it wasn't really focused. It was all of these piecemeals, and so I found that when I put this master plan together and held myself accountable to getting involved in all of these 10 platforms, they were the best mentors, the best educators. It helped me become a game changer in my own business. I didn't become a speaker to become a speaker. I became a speaker to better sell my business, to better communicate to clients, and really that's what it's enabled me to do. So whether your goal is to become a great platform speaker singly, or you're using your platform skills to better sell, to better close deals, to better market your own company, to expose people to your talent and your trade, no matter what your level of interest is, when you've got a simple plan, and you know that plan is proven because of all the masters that have used it before you, then it is definitely worth doing. And just like those girls had 32 seconds left on that clock, and they were talented, but they didn't know what to do. When you are an effervescent speaker, and you know that you've got something really special inside of you, and you know you have a calling, but you just don't know how to act on it, when you have this 10-point plan and you put it to action, you're going to see that you're going to come up a winner. In the spring of 1994, I was sitting having breakfast with Naomi Rhodey. And Naomi Rhodey is one of the champion speakers. She's one of the top 2 female speakers that have gone to the top in a very short amount of time. And she was telling me that she was going to be the president of the incoming year for the NSA. And she says, Donna, we're going to have trumpets and we're going to have roses. And I got this big theme. It's going to be the privilege of the platform. What do you think? So I sank back into my seat, and I thought, oh, that's really good. I became a little pensive, and I thought, Naomi, do you think we all have a platform? Do you think everything we do is a platform? Do you think we should all consider it a privilege? And she comes over to me, and this was 20 years ago, but she puts her hand on my hand, and I can feel it almost like it's yesterday. And she says, Donna, of course you do. Everywhere you go, everything you think, everything you say, that's your platform. And it is a privilege to be on that platform. Doesn't matter what it is. So even though now you have a structure and you have a plan when it comes to how are you going to make the most of being a candidate, so that you could use the transition of being a candidate to help you launch your commanding communication skills, I want you to take with you those 5 words, because in the spirit of Mr. Roberts himself, it truly is a privilege to be on this platform, and it's an honor. And the more times that you feel that and exude that, you are going to attract more of your target audience who want to work with you. And that's your edge. That's your advantage. That is how you take full advantage of the 10 tools and of being a candidate. So now it's your turn to decide. Is this a program that you want to put into action? And then what will be your theme against which you will weigh everything you do? Will you consider it the privilege of the platform? Thank you.